evangelism today is being somewhat hampered, I should say, by the lack of communication skills. Of course, what we are doing is we are trying to have a conversation. Now, conversations must be understood as more than simply giving out information. Particularly for me, anybody can give out information, but conversation is giving something of yourself in the communicative process. But what has been happening, particularly with the onset of social media and instruments or devices that allow us to text our friends and to text our mother who's in the kitchen while we're sitting in the living room, all of those things, that's resulted in a loss of communication skills. Now, people like Jacques Ellul from France, or you can think about Sherry Turkle from MIT in the United States, who has been doing a considerable amount of work in this area. And Sherry Turkle's latest book is, I think, called Reclaiming Conversation. And she is going about in the United States talking particularly to school districts where children are on the playground, they don't know how to have a conversation with one another. And she's been involved with this for years. So if we can't have if people do not have conversation skills, how do we engage them with a message about a person, not just giving out information, but sharing of ourselves? If that individual, if I don't have the communication skills, of course, that puts me as a poor evangelist. I say poor evangelist, at least somewhat handicapped evangelist. But think about the people with whom we have to share. Consider a person who comes into our church who simply does not understand the communication skills. Here we are trying to communicate. We are trying to have a conversation with somebody, face to face with them, that we're not just giving, John 3:16, Romans 6:23, or whatever. That'd just be giving out information. But sharing the gospel is far more than that. That becomes very difficult when the person to whom you are speaking simply has not developed communication skills at all. And young people even begin to recognize this. And the other thing that happens is that because of this, there's a sort of called a Rule 3 among young people. And that is that when you're out and you're dining and there are 4 or 5 of you, the Rule 3 is that you cannot look at your phone unless there are 3 other people who are not looking at their phone. But the other side of that is you have to keep the conversation light. Why? Because you're in and out of it. So when we talk about conversation skills, the lack of being able to follow a meaningful conversation, well, they're simply not being, they're not accustomed to that. And here we are trying to share something that's as important as the matter of life and death. And that's a serious conversation. And because of the decline in conversation skills, this is becoming more and more difficult for us to engage.